About my background, I have pastored two churches in my life. One is one I'm at now, and one is another church from another southern state that I'm not going to name the name of or name any individuals because, quite frankly, still many of them are quite furious at me. I took a stand. In fact, I've taken two stands at the church that I was at and the church that I'm at right now. Both of those stands on scriptural principles have resulted in people being utterly and completely furious at me. At the last church that I was in, I was basically forced out in many ways because I took a stand against many people in that church. The first stand I took was not even an intentional stand. I didn't even intend to go in there and start talking about this. But the issue of female pastors and women in leadership immediately came up 3 months after I started the job. And one of the people at this church, there was actually a group of about 6 that really opposed me, really went after me, and probably about 10 others who just left the church because of the stances I took. One of these couples, a deacon and his wife, really stood against me and made it a point to fight me on everything. And the main thing was over my refusal to accept that women could serve in pastoral roles. In fact, this woman was so adamant that women could serve in pastoral roles that she would actually pass out documents to all the church women before I would preach a sermon talking about how women were qualified to be pastors and deacons. Well, maybe, I'll tell you what, I'll give you this. Maybe women are qualified to be diakonos, servants, but not elders, not episcopos. I digress, let me go back. So she used to pass out these documents saying how women were absolutely supposed to be teachers. And she came after me about this. And finally, I just had to preach through 1 Timothy and talk about how God's ordinances for the church were that only qualified men serve in the role of episcopos, or presbyter, as some people like to call. Well, that didn't end well. And it led to a lot of other things, and a lot of people left the church, and they were furious. And this was a Southern Baptist church. But if you saw how the vote went today, where 3/4 of the SBC voted, let's not have women pastors and elders in our church. Let's follow God. Almost a quarter, actually over a quarter of the churches, over a quarter of the messengers at the SBC voted against that measure. And I found myself in a church that had a large part of it that were of that mindset. Here's my point. It doesn't matter who is against you. It doesn't matter if half your church is against you. It doesn't matter if 2/3 of your church is against you. It doesn't matter if everybody is against you in a congregation. If you are a pastor, if you are an episcopos, an elder, I'm not talking about a deacon, I'm talking about an elder. If you are called by God to lead and teach, you are called to be bold, no matter what the consequences are. Truth be told, it didn't end well for me at that place. The people that disliked me, went after my family, went after my reputation, and they did a lot of damage, an awful lot of damage. And when I tried to bring somebody before the church to discipline them biblically, I was fought by 2 deacons that I thought had my back. Myself and one other deacon stood up against them and said, we need to bring this woman forward to discipline her. Well, that didn't go well. Folks, standing on the Word of God, walking in truth, walking on biblical standards is never going to be the popular thing in today's world. Not right now. Even in the South, Even in the South, even here where there is a church on every corner, a church on every road or street, it's not the popular thing. Standing on biblical principles is not popular. It's not going to win you friends. It's not going to promote you to political office. If you truly take a stand, you're going to be ostracized. They're going to come after you. They're going to come after your family even. But it's what we are called to do. And if you are even considering becoming a pastor or an elder in a church, a leader in a church, you had better count the cost. You had better count the cost. Because here's the truth. You could become a pastor and you could just say things and preach just the gospel and say things to bring people in and entertain them and have cool little fancy sayings and stuff like that. But at the end of the day, are you really seeing spiritual growth in your congregation? Are you really seeing people changed? Or are you just filling a building? Are you just filling a building? You must count the cost. If you are going to be a biblical leader in today's church, it is going to cost you something. Even here, even in an SBC church, even in these conservative, quote unquote, conservative churches, you are going to have an uphill climb in most cases. It just is. It just is. Count the cost, but if God calls you into ministry as an episcopus, an elder, or pastor, you must be bold. Do it in love. We don't bash on people. We don't take the Bible and smack them over the head, but we preach and teach truth. And we stand on truth, even when everyone else around us is cowering to it, cowering to pressure, cowering to angry church women. We have to stand, and we're called to stand. All right, God bless.